All right, guys, welcome to Tuesday, February 8th. We recorded Zoom. So in terms of DXY EU, we haven't really seen much price action, mainly because we're in that stage where we pretty much have found technically where the narrative makes sense. And that would be obviously from a DXY to a bearish perspective and EU to a bullish perspective due to the potential failed flag. And we're probably going to see pretty much that continuation to the downside, especially with excuse me, with the fact that we have taken out preliminary structure. This was the final turbulence point, which led into the continuation BOS, which reacted off of a POI, took out preliminary structure, so we're technically in a bearish narrative as a whole, obviously internally, we could see very, very different things, but just based on where we are in terms of price, let me actually do it. Where we are in terms of price, I believe we were down here on Friday, was it? Yeah, right around here on Friday. And you guys know, that we were waiting for potential structure top or anything up here for, a potential bearish internal transition, which would give us more downside. So as you can see, as of this morning, well, last night, we have our continuation BOS, which is solidified, not only this preliminary range, but we could also consider this the beginning of maybe a sign of unwillingness if we are to take our preliminary structure, That is because we would not take out a previous major low, and if we were to take this out, we could solidify, pretty much this is a newer high, a new low, a new retracement, and a continuation to the upside. So as of now, internally, we have solidified our range based on preliminary BOS, excuse me. And as you can see, momentum is very, very slow. So the bias is still the same. It's now just a matter of seeing when we're going to get, that bearish transition internally. Because as of now, internally, you could see, we're technically in a bullish run. But that would fail, obviously, if we take this out, then that would mean, we have a liquidity grab. And this would be our preliminary range for a continuation. But it's not in a range, premium. We're right around equilibrium. Would more so prefer a premium to then get a bearish transition to get a much bigger move to the downside. But overall, the bias has not changed. And it's going to be very, very crucial to see how we will react over the next day or two, especially because, as you can see, we're going to close bullish today. So I would love to see a little bit more of a top before we continue lower. And EU is basically the inverse of that. As you can see, we are reacting from 99% retracement of the internal leg. So you know that we're obviously looking for, as deep of price as we can to go higher. Obviously not down here. If we were to go down here, I would more so favor downside. But from an internal structure perspective, you obviously have your low into your high, and we're looking for best case would be probably a structure top, but that would need a bullish transition just because of the momentum. So if we were to come lower, that would be a change of character, change of speed, so you could even favor that. So we would need a proper transition if we are to reach down here. But with AU, this is a weird one. I know we had discussed potentially reacting off of the potential POI here based on the internal liquidity grab, solidified low into the final push. And as of now, I do want to say this looks attractive, but it is looking a little deep from a retracement perspective, and we've already seen a reaction. So when I'm diving in deeper, you could literally see that we're creating consistent higher lows, and we're creating relative equal highs. So I would probably expect, that pop off into the upside, but I don't know if we're going to get that transition in place there. And if we don't, well, you know, it's kind of hard to justify that bearish bias, because if we do take out a previous high, then from the perspective of trend, we're going high, low, retracement, unwillingness, break of structure. So obviously that's not what we want. We still want to see lower pricing, but like we've said before, we have taken out a major area of liquidity via relative equal lows on a daily time frame, which lasted about a year and 4 months. So if we were to see that relief to the upside, then it would only make sense because of that liquidity grab in place. So honestly, I would not like to see this go up. I'm still bearish on this, just because we know from the overall perspective we are still bearish. So I mean, I don't see a reason why we should be bullish just yet, but that doesn't mean sell, right? We need to justify that sell internally to find, you know, any type of high probability setup that will actually be worth the risk. So yeah, maybe during Asia today we might see something. It'll be very interesting, especially with how we're closing the daily today. It is looking very bullish, so it's going to be very interesting to see where we are tomorrow morning for overlap. But yeah, I mean, not much to cover today, right? As we said, our DXY and EU bias are still the same. Nothing has changed. We just had corrective structure in the meantime. So it's time to see whether we're going to sustain a higher pricing, right? Because you do see wicks here, and there's also the probability of seeing that transition occur, right, internally, right? And as you can see, there's even a wick there, which is what's currently sustaining price. Continuation BOS off of intraday wick. And from a momentum perspective, it wouldn't really be the best thing, like I said, for it to come a little bit lower, because that would be change of character, change of speed, so you could favor more downside from there. But yeah, it's going to be very crucial to see how we react off of our POI. Right, and also how we have taken out preliminary structure, so high, low, retracement, unwillingness maybe once we see that be taken out, and then that would be showing its hand, and we could assume the continuation. But yeah, with that being said, let's see how this goes, and we will see you on Friday.